Welcome to this Slumberland sleep story. I would like to take this moment to wish you the most peaceful night's sleep and pleasant dreams as you fall asleep to this bedtime story. And before we begin the story, you can take a few moments to settle down comfortably. You can shift about a little if you need to make yourself even more comfortable. And when you're ready, you can let your eyes gently close. And as the story unfolds, you can take a few deep, relaxing breaths, allowing the out breaths to be a little longer than the in breaths. This triggers the body's natural relaxation response. Dragon's Fire by Dan Jones, illustrated by Edward Bentley, narrated by Dan Jones. Prologue, Wizard and the Ice Dragon, Year 3, 4971, End of the Third Age, First Age Formation, Second Age Life, Third Age Magic, Fourth Age Harmony. In the dimly lit chamber of his abode, the wizard found himself suddenly and inexplicably roused from his slumber. A shiver ran down his spine, his body drenched in a cold sweat, as though a forbidding chill had crept in through the very marrow of his bones. As he lay there, his heart pounded against his chest, its rhythm a telltale echo of the unease that haunted him. In the depths of his being, he sensed a malevolent force, a sinister darkness had been unleashed upon the land, and it left him trembling with an anxious dread. The wizard, a seasoned sage well versed in the intricacies of the arcane, had experienced many such premonitions in his long life. Yet this one was different. A sinister undercurrent, a palpable evil that seemed to fill the very air he breathed. He couldn't help but wonder what had brought forth such a ghastly disturbance, what malignant force had found its way into the world. "What nefarious force has shaken me from my slumber?" the wizard murmured, rubbing the sleep from his weary eyes. He could not shake the feeling of impending doom that clung to him like a shroud. Desperate for answers, he knew he had to act quickly. Rising from his bed, he cast aside his silken sheets and strode purposefully towards his sacred spell chamber. This chamber, a hallowed space within his dwelling, was where the wizard had crafted countless potions and elixirs throughout the centuries. Its walls, lined with ancient tomes and scrolls, bore witness to his vast knowledge of the magical arts. As he entered, a dim light flickered from the candles placed meticulously around the room, casting eerie shadows upon the stone walls. With steady hands, the wizard began to gather the ingredients necessary for a potent divination potion. He selected the finest herbs, roots, and powders from the dusty shelves, their labels faded with age. Carefully, he ground them into a fine powder, his fingers stained with the remnants of the colourful concoction. "I must pierce the veil of darkness and reveal the truth of what plagues our realm," he whispered, his voice determined yet laced with unease. Mixing the powdered ingredients with a measured amount of sacred water, the wizard stirred the potion with a practised hand, watching as the murky liquid transformed into a shimmering, iridescent mixture. Securing the potion within an enchanted glass container, the wizard placed it over a small crackling fire. The flames licked the bottom of the container, their vibrant dance reflecting within the liquid's surface. He knew he needed to act swiftly to uncover the source of the darkness that had awakened him from his rest. The wizard's eyes remained fixed on the flickering flames that danced and weaved within the iridescent liquid in the container. He was utterly entranced by the hypnotic interplay of light and shadow, as the fire's glow melded with the potion's ethereal shimmer. The container seemed to hold the essence of both darkness and light, a confluence of opposing forces that mirrored the very conflict that gripped the wizard's heart. "Take me to the source of the dark magic," he whispered, his voice barely audible amidst the crackling of the fire. He steeled himself, prepared to confront whatever malevolent power dared to disrupt the balance of his world. As the wizard gazed deeply into the liquid, he allowed his consciousness to drift, letting go of the physical realm and embracing the intangible. He entered a trance-like state, surrendering his senses to the potion's mystical properties. His breathing slowed, his heartbeat quietened, and his thoughts became one with the liquid. Through this mystical concoction, the wizard's spirit soared across the land, guided by the pulsating essence of the potion. He traversed the rolling hills, dense forests, and towering mountains of his realm, seeking the origin of the dark magic that had disturbed his rest. The world below was but a blur of colours and shapes, as his focus remained steadfast on the arcane energies that ebbed and flowed through the very fabric of existence. As he journeyed through the metaphysical plane, the wizard's mind was awash with visions of the land's inhabitants, their lives and struggles playing out before him like a kaleidoscope of human experience. Yet amidst this cacophony of emotions and events, he honed in on the dark magic that permeated the air, its tendrils reaching out to corrupt and destroy. He felt the malevolent force draw nearer, the sinister aura growing stronger with each passing moment. The dark energy seemed to be emanating from a specific location, its oppressive presence casting a shroud over the surrounding area. With a deep breath, the wizard steeled himself, prepared to confront the source of the darkness and protect his realm from its insidious influence. He needed to deepen his trance, so he began to murmur an ancient incantation once again, his voice steady yet filled with determination. The words of the chant were ancient, handed down through countless generations of wizards and seers, their power resonating within the very core of his being. As he chanted, he felt the warmth of the radiant light emanating from the iridescent liquid. This warmth washed over him like a gentle wave, its divine touch seeping into every pore of his skin. The light coursed through him, flowing from the top of his head down to his shoulders, permeating every fibre of his being. It continued its journey through his torso, invigorating his limbs as it enveloped his arms and hands, his legs and feet. With each word he uttered, the light grew stronger, surging through him with a resolute purpose, guiding him deeper into the trance, connecting him to the universal moment. As he chanted, the wizard felt a profound connection with the very fabric of existence, a bond that transcended the boundaries of time and space. He felt the ebb and flow of the cosmos, the delicate dance of celestial bodies, the eternal struggle between light and darkness. This connection empowered him, filling him with a sense of purpose and a newfound determination to face the darkness that threatened to consume his world. The chant grew louder, echoing through the chamber and resonating within his very soul. As the words left his lips, they seemed to take on a life of their own, reverberating with the power that coursed through him. The light that filled his body began to pulse, synchronizing with the rhythm of his incantation, imbuing him with an even deeper connection to the mystical forces at play. As the chant reached its crescendo, the light within him swelled to an almost blinding intensity, its divine warmth suffusing every cell of his body. It was in this moment that the wizard felt a profound unity with the universe, an unparalleled sense of belonging that transcended mortal comprehension. He was one with the cosmos, his essence intermingling with the very fabric of existence, his spirit merging with the eons-old energy that bound all living things. As the incantation continued, the wizard's senses sharpened, honing in on the depths of the iridescent liquid. His keen eyes began to discern intricate shapes and mesmerizing swirls forming within the substance, patterns that were constantly changing, morphing in a dance of cosmic energy. Each movement seemed to contain the secrets of the universe, their significance just beyond his grasp. He strained to listen, and from the depths of the liquid he could hear an orchestra of sound, a cacophony of whirring and popping, as if the liquid itself was alive with the essence of magic. The soft crackling of the fire that filled the chamber, once a comforting background noise, became distant, its sound gradually fading as the wizard's consciousness melded with the liquid. It was as if the very walls of the chamber were receding, replaced by the vastness of an infinite expanse, and he was being drawn into the depths of the liquid, his essence merging with its shimmering light. The whispers of the ancient incantation became the only anchor to his physical form, as his spirit traversed the boundaries of reality. In this trance-like state, the wizard could feel his connection to the liquid growing stronger, and it seemed as if the very essence of his being was beginning to permeate the substance. His thoughts intertwined with the swirling patterns, and he could feel his consciousness melding with the liquid, as if the two were becoming one. The delicate dance of the shapes and swirls within the iridescent pool mirrored the rhythm of his own heartbeat, their hypnotic movements echoing the cadence of his chant. As the wizard's spirit delved deeper into the liquid, the barrier between his reality and the world within the pool began to dissolve, leaving him on the precipice of a new, unknown realm. The crackling fire and the stone walls of the chamber were now nothing more than distant memories, replaced by the unfathomable expanse that awaited him. The words of his incantation, like an ethereal tether, still bound him to the physical world, but the allure of the depths of the liquid was irresistible. With each passing moment, he felt the edges of his consciousness blur and meld with the swirling light, drawing him ever closer to the transcendent union he sought. He began to perceive an entirely new realm surrounding him, as if his spirit had been transported to a distant place within the land. The familiar surroundings of his chamber vanished, replaced by the vivid details of this new location. With each breath, he felt an increasing affinity with this foreign landscape. As his thoughts honed in on the sinister, pulsating energy of the dark magic he sought to locate, the dark magic radiated an aura of malevolence, and he focused on this sensation, attempting to attune himself to its vile presence. The landscape around him unfolded in immense detail, as if he were truly present, his heightened senses now attuned to the faintest whispers of the wind, the rustle of leaves in the distance, and the aroma of damp earth beneath him. He found himself floating above this world, his spirit form granting him an unbound perspective on the land. As he soared, his consciousness became increasingly attuned to the dark magic that he sought, following the tendrils of its energy that stretched across the land like a hunter tracking his prey. As he pursued the source of the dark magic, he began to hear hushed, fragmented voices in the wind, their words barely discernible, but laden with fear and desperation. They were the echoes of countless souls ensnared by the malevolent force, crying out for salvation from their torment. The wizard's resolve strengthened as he knew that not only was he seeking to uncover the location of the dark magic, but also to liberate these tormented spirits from its grip. His surroundings became increasingly tainted by the dark energy, the once vibrant colours of the land now twisted into a dismal, desolate panorama. The once gentle breeze had become a chilling gale, carrying with it the distant echoes of anguished cries, while the earth beneath him seemed to writhe in agony, as if yearning to be free from the dark magic's influence. As the wizard delved deeper into this corrupted reality, his spirit form began to shimmer with the intensity of his determination, a beacon of light amid the encroaching darkness. As he concentrated on the menacing sensations, his senses began to pick up on the growing cacophony of chaos in the distance. At first, it was a distant, low rumble, but gradually the unmistakable roar and swoosh of a dragon thundered in his ears. He could feel the vibrations of its mighty wings, the dread it instilled in the air around it. Soon he started to hear the panicked screams of people in a village as they desperately tried to flee from the impending doom. He could feel their terror, their frantic heartbeats racing in unison as they scrambled for safety. The village materialized before him, a once thriving settlement now consumed by chaos and destruction. The dragon was a terrifying sight, its massive form swooping down from the skies like a relentless force of nature. Its scales shimmered with a sinister, icy hue, and as it opened its maw, a torrent of icy blue breath poured forth, engulfing the villagers below. The screams of terror reached a crescendo as the draconic assault continued, the people below petrified and helpless before the beast's relentless onslaught. A scene of devastation unfolded before the wizard's eyes as the dragon ascended back into the skies, circling the village like a monstrous winged predator. The villagers, once full of life, were now frozen in place, their expressions etched in eternal horror as they were encased in the dragon's frosty embrace. The once vibrant village was now a chilling graveyard, a monument to the dragon's merciless rampage. The wizard could hear the wails of the survivors, their sobs echoing through the air as they huddled together, trembling in shock and despair. Mothers clutched their children close, shielding their eyes from the devastation that surrounded them, while elderly villagers whispered prayers to the gods, begging for mercy and deliverance from the terrible beast. As the dragon swooped down once more, unleashing another torrent of its icy breath, the wizard's heart ached for the villagers, his determination to put an end to the dragon's reign of terror growing ever stronger. The wizard stood rooted to the spot, his heart heavy with despair as he helplessly observed the dragon wreak havoc upon the once peaceful village. He could almost feel the biting cold of the dragon's frosty breath as it mercilessly froze the villagers in place one by one. Their petrified faces would haunt his dreams, a grim reminder of the devastation that had befallen them. The once bustling village had been reduced to a desolate, icy graveyard, a monument to the dragon's cruel reign of terror. As the cacophony of screams and wails subsided, replaced by a haunting silence, the dragon appeared to be sated for now. With a final bone-chilling roar, it beat its massive wings and took to the skies once more, its malevolent gaze fixed on the horizon. The wizard could see the dragon's intent clear as day. There were more villages lying in its path, vulnerable and defenseless against its icy onslaught. The wizard clenched his fists in frustration, the weight of his inability to act crushing him. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had failed these people, that he should have been able to intervene, to save them from their frozen fate. The images of the fallen villagers, locked in their eternal, icy prisons, would not leave his mind. "I must stop that dragon," he whispered to himself, his voice barely audible. He knew he could not allow this monstrous beast to continue its rampage unchecked, to bring further destruction and despair to the lands that lay before it. With a newfound resolve, the wizard's eyes burned with determination. "I'll put an end to this creature's reign of terror," he vowed. "No more innocent lives will be lost to its insatiable hunger for chaos and destruction. I swear it upon my very soul." The wizard was at a loss as to the origins of the malevolent dragon, but one thing was clear in his mind. He was the only one with the power to confront and ultimately stop the beast. It was his responsibility to seek out this icy terror and force it into a slumber once more, ensuring the safety and peace of the realm. The weight of this responsibility pressed heavily upon his shoulders as he steeled himself for the long and perilous journey that lay ahead. Emerging from the depths of his contemplative trance, the wizard found himself back in the familiar surroundings of his modest chamber. With a quick wave of his hand, he extinguished the fire that crackled in the hearth, casting the room into darkness. The time for reflection had passed, and he knew that he must depart from the sanctuary of his home and embark on the journey that would determine the fate of the lands he held dear. As the wizard stepped out into the cold night air, he felt a chilling sense of urgency, urging him to hasten his pursuit of the destructive dragon. The unforgiving wind whipped at his cloak, yet he did not falter, his resolve unyielding. He took one last glance at the place he had called home, knowing that he might never see it again, but it was a sacrifice he was willing to make for the greater good. With a deep breath, he set off towards the dark, foreboding forest that lay before him. Because he had seen the dragon in his mind's eye, the wizard found himself inexplicably bound to the creature, as though an invisible tether connected their very souls. It was this mystical bond that allowed him to hone in on the dragon's location, guiding him through the twists and turns of the perilous journey that lay ahead. As he focused on the dragon, he felt an irresistible pull drawing him ever closer to the monstrous beast he sought. He wandered deeper into the dense, dark forest, the shadows of the trees enveloping him like a shroud. As he pressed forward, he found himself hacking away at the thick, gnarled branches that threatened to impede his progress. With each forceful swing of his staff, he cleared a path through the seemingly endless sea of undergrowth, determined to reach his ultimate goal. As he ventured further into the heart of the forest, the wizard's senses were assaulted by the cacophony of sounds that filled the air. The eerie cries of nocturnal creatures filled his ears, their haunting melodies providing a macabre soundtrack to his quest. Yet amidst the discord, he could also hear the gentle, soothing sound of a stream, its waters cascading down from the mountains above and winding their way through the forest towards the distant ocean. The wizard found solace in the stream's delicate melody, allowing it to guide him as he continued to follow his instincts, driven ever closer to the dragon that haunted his thoughts. The forest seemed to stretch on for an eternity, but the wizard's resolve never wavered. The connection he shared with the dragon became stronger with each passing moment, fueling his determination to confront the icy terror that threatened the realm. As he moved further into the dark, forbidding wilderness, he knew that he was growing closer to the moment when he would finally come face to face with the fearsome beast that had, until now, only existed in his mind's eye. When he finally arrived at the village that had been so vividly etched into his mind, the wizard was met with a sight that both astounded and horrified him. The entire village was encased in a layer of ice, the frosty grip of the dragon's magic reaching out and encircling every living being within its confines. As he surveyed the scene before him, he quickly came to realize that the frozen villagers were not, in fact, dead. Their eyes, wide with terror and disbelief, stared out from their icy prisons, trapped but still very much alive. The wizard's heart ached for these unfortunate souls, and as he gazed upon their frost-bitten faces, he vowed to himself that he would free them from their enchanted slumber. "If I can put the ice dragon back to sleep," the wizard murmured to himself, his voice just a whisper, blending into the chilling wind that swept through the village, "then the magic will be broken and the villagers will be free of the ice." As he continued to explore the frozen village, he came across the remnants of their desperate attempts to fight off the dragon's icy onslaught. Broken weapons lay scattered upon the ground, and the remnants of hastily erected barricades bore testament to the villagers' courage in the face of such an impossible foe. The wizard couldn't help but admire their bravery, even as his heart ached for the suffering they had endured. He came upon a small group of villagers, their frozen bodies huddled together as if seeking warmth and comfort from one another. The wizard gently placed a hand upon the icy surface that encased them, feeling the cold seep through his fingertips. "I promise," he whispered, his breath forming a cloud of mist in the frosty air, "I will free you from this curse and return you to the life that was so cruelly stolen from you." The wizard pressed onwards, his journey taking him along a winding path that led him to a grand, ancient stone bridge that arched gracefully over a deep gorge. The river below roared ferociously, its waters thundering as they cascaded over rocks and rapids, a testament to the raw power of nature. The bridge, weathered by time and the elements, bore intricate carvings of mythical creatures and scenes of great battles, each telling a story from a long-forgotten past. As he cautiously crossed the bridge, the wizard couldn't help but pause for a moment, struck by the beauty and the history that lay before him. He gazed down at the raging torrent below, feeling a sense of awe and humility in the face of such magnificent forces. It was a fleeting yet powerful reminder of how small and insignificant he was in the grand scheme of things. But he knew that despite his smallness, his mission was of great importance. Once over the bridge, the wizard continued along the path, the frozen village now behind him, and ventured deeper into the hushed countryside. The landscape around him seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for the wizard to make his move, to bring hope and warmth back to the frozen land. As he journeyed further, he was struck by the eerie silence that had settled over the countryside. It was as if the land itself was mourning the tragic fate of the villagers, its sorrow echoing through the stillness. Lost in his thoughts, the wizard couldn't help but ask himself, "How will I stop the dragon?" He pondered this question as he walked, his mind racing with ideas and strategies, each one more daring and dangerous than the last. He knew that he had to find a way to defeat the dragon and free the villagers from their icy prison. But the task ahead was daunting. His thoughts turned to the people he had encountered thus far on his journey, their courage and determination in the face of overwhelming odds, inspiring him to keep pushing forward. He thought of the frozen villagers huddled together for warmth and comfort, their brave yet futile attempts to protect their homes from the dragon's wrath. Their determination strengthened his resolve to find a way to put an end to the dragon's reign of terror and restore peace to the land. The wizard, deep in contemplation, came to the conclusion that the most effective way to halt the advance of the ice-breathing dragon would be to wield the power of fire. He knew that fire would not be the dragon's demise, for dragons were near impervious to harm. However, fire held the potential to counteract the dragon's chilling breath, offering him a precious window of time to cast a potent sleep spell which would send the fearsome beast back into the depths of slumber. As he considered this plan, he could not help but feel a gnawing curiosity about what could have roused the dragon from its age-long slumber. He realized there must be someone or something manipulating events behind the scenes, a puppeteer pulling the strings. Nevertheless, his immediate priority was to ensure the dragon's return to its peaceful sleep, and to restore order to the realm. The wizard, emboldened by his newfound plan, allowed a glimmer of hope to flicker in his heart. He had confidence in his mastery of fire, having spent countless years honing his pyromantic abilities. His thoughts raced as he contemplated how he might conjure a firestorm to rival the dragon's icy maelstrom. He also knew that precision and timing would be crucial, as one wrong move could spell disaster for him and the villagers he sought to protect. "Fire," he whispered to himself, as if speaking the word aloud would seal his commitment to the plan. "Fire will be my weapon, my shield, and my salvation. For the sake of the people who depend on me, I will wield the flames with unmatched skill and determination. I shall banish the ice and darkness and restore warmth and light to the land." He then considered the sleep spell he would need to cast. The wizard had studied ancient tomes of magic and had learned a multitude of enchantments to subdue even the most formidable of foes. He knew that the incantation to put the dragon to sleep would require every ounce of his concentration and energy. The wizard steeled himself for the task, his resolve unwavering, his heart filled with courage and conviction. The safety of the villages and the future of the realm depended on him, and he would not fail. After a long and arduous journey through treacherous landscapes and uncharted territories, the wizard suddenly became aware of panicked screams echoing through the air. The terror-filled cries were punctuated by the thunderous sound of the dragon's massive wings as it swooped down, casting its ominous shadow over the frightened villagers below. Each time the dragon took to the sky, its scaly form would momentarily become visible above the treetops, only to dive back down upon the village with relentless ferocity. The chilling sound of its icy breath, crackling and hissing across the village, sent shivers down the wizard's spine. "There you are," murmured the wizard under his breath, his eyes narrowing as he caught sight of the dragon each time it emerged from the dense forest canopy. The dragon's movements were agile and precise, its sinuous body swooping gracefully up into the air before circling like a predator stalking its prey. It would then dive down upon the village with alarming speed, unleashing its devastating icy breath upon the helpless villagers, freezing them in their tracks as they attempted to flee from the beast's wrath. As the wizard observed the dragon's relentless onslaught, he could not help but feel a sense of urgency and responsibility welling up inside him. The people of this realm were depending on him to end this reign of terror, and he knew that every moment he hesitated, more innocent lives were being lost to the dragon's icy fury. He steeled himself, whispering words of encouragement and resolve as he prepared to confront the monstrous creature that had cast its frigid shadow over the land. "By the ancient fires that burn in the heart of the world, I shall put an end to your icy rampage," the wizard vowed, his voice steady and resolute. "I shall face you, mighty dragon, and bring warmth and hope back to this land, banishing the cold and darkness that you have wrought." The wizard hastened his pace, striding urgently towards the village, his heart heavy with foreboding. As he approached, he saw a sight all too familiar from his previous encounters: frozen statues of villagers, their faces contorted in expressions of terror, lining the once bustling streets. Each icy figure stood as a chilling testament to the dragon's merciless fury. The wizard felt the weight of responsibility settling upon his shoulders, knowing that he was the realm's last hope against this cold-hearted monster. As he walked through the desolate village, he noticed that the dragon's trail led further into the dense forest, a path of frozen destruction in its wake. He knew that he must follow the beast into the unknown depths of the woods. With each step, his determination grew stronger, and he vowed to put an end to the dragon's reign of terror, no matter the cost. The wizard journeyed deeper and deeper into the forest, the shadows growing darker and more oppressive with each passing moment. The air grew colder, the wind biting at his face as he pressed on, ever vigilant and alert to the sound of the dragon's approach. As he navigated the treacherous terrain, the wizard's ears suddenly caught the faint sound of laboured breathing echoing through the trees. The dragon, he realized, was not far away. Quickening his pace, the wizard moved silently through the undergrowth, his heart pounding in his chest as he closed in on the source of the ominous breathing. His hands tightened around his staff, his fingers tracing the intricate runes etched into the wood, as he prepared himself for the confrontation that lay ahead. As he neared the origin of the dragon's breath, the wizard felt a chill creep into his bones, an icy grip that threatened to sap his strength and resolve. He knew that the moment of truth was at hand, and he must face the beast, come what may. He followed the sound of the breathing to a vast clearing where the emerald-scaled dragon reclined amidst the remnants of its latest conquest. As he cautiously entered the clearing, he couldn't help but marvel at the sheer size and magnificence of the creature before him, its sinuous body covered in glimmering ice-blue scales, lay coiled upon the ground, while its immense wings, now folded, twitched restlessly at its sides. Breathing deeply, the dragon exhaled clouds of icy mist that shrouded the clearing in an ethereal fog. The wizard could hear the powerful breaths, each exhale resonating like the gusts of a relentless gale. Despite its apparent serenity, the dragon radiated an aura of untold power, and the wizard knew he must tread carefully in this most dangerous encounter. As he inched closer, the dragon's immense head lifted, its piercing white eyes narrowing as they locked onto the wizard. It seemed almost as if the dragon had been expecting him, and its gaze bore into him with an unsettling intensity. The wizard felt a shiver run down his spine, but he steadfastly held his ground, refusing to let his fear get the better of him. The dragon, now fully aware of his presence, tilted its head slightly, studying him with a calculating curiosity. Its nostrils flared as it drew in a deep breath, the cold air transforming into a swirling vortex of frost and ice within its maw. The wizard tensed, sensing that the beast was preparing to unleash its deadly breath upon him, and he readied himself for the battle that would surely follow. However, instead of attacking, the dragon merely released a low, rumbling growl that echoed through the trees, reverberating in the very core of the wizard's being. It was a sound that seemed to convey a sense of ancient wisdom and sorrow, a lament for a time long past. The wizard, though still on guard, found himself intrigued by the creature's apparent hesitation, and he wondered if perhaps there was more to this dragon than the wanton destruction it had wreaked upon the villages. With a new-found determination, the wizard stepped closer to the dragon, his voice steady and resolute as he addressed the fearsome beast. "O mighty and ancient dragon," the wizard began, his voice echoing through the clearing, "I beseech you, share with me the reason behind your relentless attacks upon these peaceful villages. What has stirred you from your ageless slumber and driven you to such destruction?" The dragon's eyes gleamed as it pondered the wizard's words, and then it spoke, its voice deep and resonant, yet tinged with a sorrow that weighed heavily upon its heart. "Alas, wise mortal, it is not by choice that I lay waste to the homes of your kin. I have been summoned and bound by a sorcerer of great power, one who seeks to harness my might for their own nefarious purposes. I am a slave to their will, unable to resist the iron grip of their enchantments." The wizard's eyes widened at the dragon's revelation, and he felt a sudden pang of sympathy for the once noble creature that now found itself enthralled to a darker force. "Such a fate is a cruel one indeed," he murmured, his heart heavy with sadness. "And this sorcerer, tell me, how have they come to possess such control over you? What spell or artifact do they wield to keep you in their thrall?" The dragon sighed a mournful sound that seemed to echo the pain of its spirit. I know not the details of their wicked sorcery, only that it is a power born of darkness and malice. The sorcerer's command over me is absolute, and I am unable to break free of their sinister hold." As the dragon spoke, the wizard's resolve grew stronger, and he knew that he must do whatever he could to help free the dragon from its torment. It was clear that the creature had not chosen to wreak havoc upon the innocent, and the wizard could not stand idly by while a fellow being suffered so unjustly. As the wizard cautiously approached the colossal dragon, he observed its immense wings, each one appearing like the sail of a mighty ship, quivering with anticipation. With a powerful thrust, the dragon launched itself into the air, the force of its wings creating a tempest that threatened to uproot the ancient trees surrounding the clearing. The dragon swiftly circled above, its keen eyes never leaving the wizard below, as it prepared to face him once more. Undeterred, the wizard stood his ground, his heart pounding within his chest as he planted his staff firmly into the earth. His feet, clad in worn but sturdy boots, remained rooted to the ground as if they were an extension of the very soil upon which he stood. He watched intently as the dragon, its scales glinting in the sunlight, swung down towards him with an intensity that would have sent lesser men fleeing in terror. "By the powers that govern the elements," the wizard whispered to himself, "I shall stand my ground and protect the innocent from this enchanted creature's wrath." The dragon, sensing the wizard's determination, pulled its wings in close to its body, transforming itself into a living missile as it dove towards the mage at a breathtaking speed. The air around the dragon seemed to crackle and shudder, as though unable to withstand the raw power of the fearsome beast. The earth beneath the wizard trembled, the trees swayed violently, and the sky itself seemed to darken as the dragon bore down upon him. "Face me, beast," the wizard roared, his voice filled with equal parts courage and defiance. "I shall not be swayed from my duty, no matter the might you wield." As the dragon hurtled towards the wizard, a primal cry of challenge escaping its maw, the world appeared to hold its breath, waiting for the titanic clash that was about to unfold. Just as the dragon neared the wizard, the seasoned mage outstretched his right hand, his fingers splayed wide, and began to chant in a sonorous ancient tongue. The words of the incantation, long forgotten by most, held an untold power, and the wizard's voice grew stronger with each syllable he spoke. He was casting a potent sleep spell designed to render the mighty beast unconscious and vulnerable. As the dragon was but mere meters away, the wizard's staff pulsed with energy, the runes carved upon its surface glowing a fiery red. With a final decisive word, the mage unleashed the spell, a brilliant bolt of fire that surged forth from the staff, speeding directly towards the oncoming dragon. The monstrous beast, reacting to the sudden attack, sprayed forth a torrent of icy breath in retaliation, hoping to quench the wizard's flame. The fire and ice collided in mid-air, each force battling for dominance. The intense heat of the fire pushed against the dragon's frigid breath, forcing the cold stream backwards towards its origin. The dragon's breath was driven back into its own mouth, extinguishing the icy torrent in an instant. The fire, however, was undeterred. It continued onwards, engulfing the dragon in a swirling, roaring ball of flame. Though the dragon roared in anger, its scales protected it from the worst of the inferno's wrath. It could not escape, however, the effects of the wizard's sleep spell. As the dragon struggled against the fire, the enchantment began to take hold, seeping into the beast's mind and sapping its strength. Yield to the power of my slumber, great beast, the wizard intoned, his voice filled with the weight of centuries. Rest now, and let us end this conflict without further bloodshed. The dragon's eyes, once filled with the cold light of fury, began to cloud over, the spell working its way deeper into its consciousness. It was not yet defeated, however, and in a last-ditch effort to resist the wizard's magic, it let out a desperate roar and launched itself skyward out of the raging inferno. The dragon launched itself out of the searing flames, rapidly ascending into the heavens above. As it circled around, its wings beating furiously against the air, it attempted to muster the energy for another powerful breath. However, the beast could not manage even a single gust, its breath extinguished by the fire that had so recently engulfed it. The wizard, undeterred, continued to chant his sleep incantation, his voice strong and unwavering. As the ancient words flowed from his lips, the staff in his hand began to emit a pulsating, ethereal purple light. The light, a manifestation of the sleep spell, steadily grew in intensity and size, expanding outward from the wizard's staff in a magnificent display of arcane power. "Your strength wanes, noble creature," the wizard bellowed, his voice carrying across the battlefield. "Succumb to the slumber that now beckons you." The dragon, still soaring high above, cast a baleful glare downward, its once fiery eyes now clouded by the encroaching spell. It fought against the weariness that threatened to claim it, determined to resist the wizard's enchantment for as long as it could. It let loose an anguished roar, the sound a mixture of pain and defiance echoing through the land. Below, the wizard observed the dragon's struggle with a mixture of respect and determination. He knew that the battle would soon be won, but he could not let his guard down, not until the mighty beast was safely subdued. He focused his energy on the staff, the pulsating purple light growing ever brighter and more expansive with each passing moment. The dragon, sensing its imminent defeat, launched itself into a desperate dive toward the wizard, aiming to deliver a final devastating blow. As it plummeted towards the ground, it stretched its massive scaled talons out, intent on tearing the wizard to shreds. The wizard, however, remained resolute in his determination, focusing all his might into the rapidly expanding sphere of purple light. The incantation he chanted grew more intense, the ancient words now resounding with the force of 1,000 whispers. The light expanded further, now a veritable wall of ethereal energy that stood between the dragon and its intended prey. Realizing its perilous trajectory, the dragon desperately tried to adjust its course to avert its collision with the impenetrable magical barrier. Its wings beat frantically, muscles straining in a futile attempt to change direction, but it was too late. The dragon was ensnared within the purple light's irresistible pull. Its once proud and powerful form, now vulnerable and exposed. Almost instantaneously as the dragon entered the sphere of light, it succumbed to the overpowering spell. Its once fearsome eyes, now clouded and dulled, closed as if weighted by an unseen force. Its wings, once symbols of strength and majesty, now hung limply by its side as it hurtled towards the earth. And as it descended, it let out a final defeated sigh, the sound of a once mighty creature surrendering to its fate. The dragon's colossal form thundered down to the ground like a rock falling from the sky, crashing and skidding along the earth with a force that shook the very foundations of the land. As it slid to a halt, it carved a long, deep crater in the ground, testament to the immense power of the wizard's spell and the dragon's own formidable presence. The wizard approached the fallen dragon, stepping cautiously yet decisively towards the once mighty beast. As he drew nearer, the air surrounding the colossal creature seemed to hum with the latent energy of their combined powers. Stopping just inches from the dragon's enormous head, the wizard stared deep into its eyes, as if peering into the very soul of the ancient creature. He could sense the dragon's essence, a force so potent and wild that it threatened to consume him whole. Placing his hand gently upon the dragon's scaled forehead, the wizard closed his eyes and began to chant, the words of his incantation weaving an intricate tapestry of magic. His voice, calm and steady, belayed the intensity of the spell work at hand. As he continued his chant, the wizard felt his own magic melding with the dragon's essence, a symphony of arcane energies intertwining and harmonizing with one another. With each passing moment, the connection between the wizard and the dragon grew stronger, the bond between man and beast deepening into something transcendent. As the spell reached its crescendo, the wizard issued a solemn command to the dragon, speaking words imbued with power and purpose. You shall return to your slumber, O ancient one. You'll depart from this realm, and your magic will be no more. The world shall be safe again. You will vanish, and with your absence, peace, serenity, and tranquility will spread throughout the land. The wizard's voice echoed across the landscape, his words resonating with a finality that seemed to reverberate through the very fabric of existence. The dragon, its once fierce gaze now softened, seemed to understand the gravity of the wizard's decree, acknowledging its role in the restoration of balance and harmony to the world. As the connection between them solidified, the dragon appeared to surrender to the wizard's command, a sense of acceptance washing over its gargantuan form. As the wizard continued his chant, he could feel the dragon's power beginning to wane, its essence receding like a tide pulled away by the moon. The once formidable beast, now humbled by the wizard's magic, seemed to understand that its time had come to leave this realm and let peace return to the land. Suddenly, amidst the delicate balance of energies, a thunderous explosion erupted, tearing through the air and shaking the very ground upon which they stood. The dragon, jolted from its submissive state, let out a fearsome roar that echoed through the valleys and mountains, a warning of the disturbance in the forces that had bound it. The wizard's eyes snapped open, the once serene connection with the dragon now tainted by an unwelcome presence. Before him stood a sorcerer, cloaked in dark shadows, a wicked scowl contorting their face into a visage of pure malice. The air around them crackled with the dark energy they wielded, and their eyes burned with an insatiable hunger for the power that the dragon held within. "Foolish wizard," the sorcerer sneered, their voice dripping with disdain. "Did you truly believe you could stop me? I have harnessed the power of the dragon, bent it to my will. I shall not let you interfere with my grand design." The wizard stood his ground, unfazed by the sorcerer's menacing words. His voice, resolute and unwavering, carried the weight of wisdom and a deep understanding of the responsibility that accompanied such power. "I will not allow you to use this dragon for your own nefarious gain. The power of the dragon is not meant to be controlled and abused, but respected and cherished. It is a force of nature, and you shall not taint it with your malevolence." As the two spellcasters locked gazes, a tangible tension hung in the air between them, like the calm before a storm. The dragon, now caught between the wills of the wizard and the sorcerer, let out another agonized roar, its massive form quivering with the conflicting energies that sought to claim its allegiance. The sorcerer's twisted grin stretched across their face, their eyes glinting with cruel delight. "You are a fool, wizard, to stand against me. Your efforts will be in vain, for the dragon is now bound to my command." The wizard's resolve only grew stronger, knowing that the fate of the dragon and the world hung in the balance. The sorcerer's laughter reverberated through the air, a wicked and taunting sound. "You are too late, wizard. The dragon is mine to command." However, the wizard's determination to complete his spell remained unbroken. He gripped his staff tightly, his unwavering gaze fixed upon the dark sorcerer. He knew that the moment of truth was at hand. With a swift, decisive motion, he directed his staff at the sorcerer, uttering a single, powerful word. A shimmering ball of fizz-crackling light materialized around the sorcerer, effectively freezing them in place, their expression twisted in surprise and rage. With the sorcerer temporarily incapacitated, the wizard returned his attention to the dragon, closing his eyes and focusing his magical energies. The words of his spell flowed from his lips louder and more assertively, the incantation weaving an intricate web of magic that reached out to the dragon. He could feel the dragon's power beginning to wane and the sorcerer's influence slipping away. From within their luminescent prison, the sorcerer screamed in frustration, the sound filled with a raw, primal fury that echoed across the landscape. They could only watch helplessly as the dragon began to sink into the ground, as if the very earth itself was swallowing the beast, taking it back to the depths from whence it came. The dragon's immense form gradually disappeared, its scales glinting in the sunlight one last time before being consumed by the earth. The magical energies that had bound the creature to the sorcerer's will dissipated, leaving the sorcerer seething with anger and desperation. They clawed at the confining light, their fingers leaving trails of dark energy in their wake, but the prison held firm. "You shall find respite beneath the earth," the wizard whispered with a compassionate tone. "In the depths you shall slumber, soothing the scars of the land with your dormant presence." His words were gentle but firm, a stark contrast to the fierce incantation that had just passed his lips. The dragon continued its descent, sinking deeper and deeper into the ground, as if it were being pulled into a loving embrace. As the wizard's voice carried on, the frozen villagers began to thaw, stirring from their icy prisons without any knowledge of the events that had transpired. The wizard's incantation continued to flow, its power and intent unwavering, until the dragon was swallowed entirely by the earth, drawn deep into the bowels, hidden from the world above. With a serene expression, the wizard turned his attention to the sorcerer, who still struggled against their luminous confines. "Your influence over the dragon has been severed," the wizard declared. "It shall no longer serve as an instrument of your wicked designs." The sorcerer's face contorted into a venomous sneer. "This is but a temporary setback, wizard. I will find another means to harness the dragon's might, and you will rue the day you crossed my path." Unperturbed, the wizard replied with an unwavering conviction, "I shall remain vigilant, prepared to stand against you. The power of the dragon will forever remain free, safeguarded from the likes of you." The sorcerer, unwilling to admit defeat, mustered every ounce of their remaining strength, their body trembling with the sheer effort. With a howling, guttural scream that echoed through the valley, they channeled that power into an act of desperate escape, a teleportation spell that would transport them far from the prison that held them captive, and away from the land they had sought to conquer. As they vanished, the air crackled with the remnants of their dark energy, leaving a bitter taste lingering in the atmosphere. The wizard, ever vigilant, knew that their work was far from over. Turning their attention to the potential return of dragons, they began to weave an intricate spell. Their words swirled and danced on the wind, imbuing the very essence of the land with a protective charm. This enchantment, a testament to their wisdom and foresight, would ensure that if any dragons ever dared to resurface in this land, their breath would be rendered impotent, unable to cause harm or destruction as it once had. However, the wizard was not content with simply securing the land against the dragon's wrath. They knew that the sorcerer's malevolent presence still lingered, an ever-present shadow of darkness that threatened to return. To safeguard the land from this threat, the wizard cast a second spell, a powerful ward that would alert them to the presence of the sorcerer should they dare to set foot upon these hallowed grounds once more. As they wove the spells into the very fabric of the land, the wizard couldn't help but ponder on the identity of the sorcerer. They had not recognized the dark figure, which only served to heighten their unease. The wizard, physically and mentally exhausted from their recent endeavors, knew it was time to retreat to the solace of their home. With each step, their weariness seemed to weigh heavier on their shoulders, but their resolve remained strong. They had expended a great deal of energy vanquishing the dragon and thwarting the sorcerer, but their work was far from done. Although they had managed to shield the land from immediate danger, they were all too aware that the sinister forces that had been unleashed could return. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the wizard trudged through the lush forests, allowing the tranquillity of nature to soothe their troubled mind. The air was filled with the comforting sounds of rustling leaves and gentle birdsong, the very essence of the land they had sworn to protect. Yet even amidst this serene landscape, the wizard couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that the spectre of danger still loomed large. The villagers, nestled safely in their homes, remained blissfully unaware of the darkness that had brushed against their lives. They went about their daily routines, unaware of the sacrifices the wizard had made to keep them safe. Their innocence was both a blessing and a burden, for the wizard knew that they would need to remain vigilant, watching over the people and the land with unyielding dedication. It was not simply the knowledge of the sorcerer's existence that troubled the wizard, but the unanswered questions that plagued their thoughts. Who was this mysterious figure that had wielded such dark and malevolent magic? What had driven them to unleash the dragon upon the unsuspecting world? As the wizard mulled over these questions, they resolved to delve deeper into the mystery, scouring ancient texts and seeking counsel from their fellow wizards to uncover the sorcerer's true identity. Upon reaching the humble abode they called home, nestled amongst the towering trees of the forest, the wizard allowed themselves a moment of respite. They knew that they would need to gather their strength before embarking on their quest for answers. For now, rest and sleep were necessary, a brief reprieve from the ever-present shadow of darkness that threatened to rise again. The wizard vowed to remain vigilant, watching over the land with unwavering determination, as they prepared to face whatever challenges the future might hold.